remember, motion, second, discussion.
You can always remind. Oh. Okay, folks, I am going to call this meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Cowart. Esri.
Here.
Furtado.
Here.
Goss.
Here.
Hanauer Friedman.
Here.
Harper.
Here.
Ingram. Locke.
Here.
Lockshin.
Here.
Michaels. Rodriguez.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Sexton. Storr.
Present.
Straub.
Here.
Taylor. Thorsland.
Here.
Benish Thierenot.
Here.
Williams. Wilson.
Here.
Carter. Patterson.
Here.
Thank you. For the prayer, I have selected something to focus on the increase in COVID, RSV, and influenza in our community, which has reached a significantly higher level. May you be well. May you be cleansed and purified of all that isn't health. May every cell in your body wake up and fight. May the powerful light of healing move into every part of you. May you return to being purely you. May you be well. Pledge your allegiance, please. Will the clerk please read the notice of the meeting?
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on December 15, 2022, 6:30 p.m. in the Shields Carter Meeting Room, Brookings Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees, and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, which said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda and addenda?
So moved.
Traub. Sorry, who seconded?
Carter.
Carter, thank you. Is there any discussion? Mr. Esri.
Thanks. Just a quick question. Should not, like the budget amendments, have the asterisks for I mean, they aren't on them, and maybe that's just getting new into the year again, but like the roll call and 15 votes. I mean, I'm not looking to change the agenda. It's just that technically, if we've got them in there, they should have like those asterisks or bullet points.
Understood, thank you. These new mics are taking me a while to get used to, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Date and time of the next regular meetings are posted on the agenda. We're going to move on to public participation. Each participant will have 5 minutes to address the board. First is Mr. Mark Dorsey. Come to the front mic, please.
Thank you. Yes, my name's Mark Dorsey. I'm the water operator at Penfield, Illinois, in northeast Champaign County. And just won't be long, but I just wanted to come and thank everybody for the additional money that you agreed to give us. And this whole project is going to cost about $230,000, $250,000. We're putting in $35,000 of our money, and, it wouldn't have gotten done without what you guys have done. So we appreciate it, and it saves taxpayers money because we would have had to raise rates in order to pay for this. So, it's, for everybody's good health, water, and the safety of it. So thank you all. We appreciate it. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next is Agnes San Miguel.
I'm going to follow in Mark's footsteps. I'm Agnes San Miguel. I've been a citizen of Penfield for 74 years. I'm the Secretary Treasurer of the Water District, and I've been in that position since 1992. And I also want to thank all of you for remembering us. Sometimes I think people feel that when you are in a small community that is unincorporated, that we're forgotten. And that's not been the case. And you have no idea how much we appreciate all of you. As Mark had stated, we were talking about having to raise water bills. There are a lot of elderly people that live in Penfield that are on Social Security, and that would be a hardship for them. And they are the first ones that want to pay their water bill when other people don't. So it's really appreciated, and again, thank you so much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Moving on to communications. Before we start, there is an orientation packet at the tables for all of our new county board members. Megan Robeson, our administrative assistant, put most of it together as a compilation of some materials I had and what she put together. If you have any questions, make sure to feel free to reach out to talk to me or to my staff. Does any member of the board have communication regarding business of the board? Mr. Patterson.
Thanks. I'd like to take a moment to remember the life of Scott Bennett. Before Scott served 8 years in the Illinois State Senate, he was a Champaign County Assistant State's Attorney, handling felony cases where he often worked with children and victims of violent and sexual crimes. His former boss, State's Attorney Julia Reitz, has praised him for his sensitive and patient relationship and trust building he was known for with these vulnerable victims. As a state senator, Scott's office was a key supporter and sponsor of the Champaign County Expungement and Record Sealing Summit, and his door was always open to county officials who had issues with the state of Illinois. Scott was known for sincerely listening to anyone who approached him with a concern, an idea, a complaint, or whatever it may have been, and you knew that when he said he was going to look into it, he was bringing back results. It didn't matter if you were a constituent, a local official, Democrat or Republican, Scott was there to serve you. This was exemplified by his record as an ardent advocate for those in our society with the least voice, residents with disabilities. Lots has been said about his unrivaled kindness and his gut-busting humor, so I'll leave it at this. Scott was a friend to most of us. He was a good legislator, he was a great man, and he was an amazing father, husband. Please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Anyone else? Seeing none, go on to approval of the minutes. If there's any objection, can I have a motion to get an omnibus motion to approve the minutes for November's regular meeting and the minutes of the December 5th organizational meeting? Mr. Goss,
So
Mr.
moved.
Esri, thank you. Is there any discussion? Yes, Ms. Straub.
I think the record needs to show that I was absent on November 17th. I'm not listed as absent.
Okay. We'll change that to reflect that. Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. On to appointments to county board committees. Chair Patterson, do you want to speak to your appointments?
Yes. Everybody has an orange sheet that lists the committees. And just kind of explain for some of the newer members, the three committees, facilities, highway, and ELUC, those are all our standing committees. They meet every month. It's divided evenly between county board members. Those are our more regular meetings. The labor and the litigation meet as needed, so it's not really the same as far as the split. And for the committee of the whole, which includes finance, justice and social services, policy, personnel, and appointments, everybody sits on that. That meets a week before county board meetings, and everybody serves on that. So I just listed the chairs and vice chairs of each of those committees. And we did discuss, I am going to amend this, because I guess this is are we going to approve this tonight? Is that how it's listed?
Actually, it's not really specifically listed for approval.
Yeah, I don't know, does it need?
I think it's the prerogative of the chair.
So for the record, I am amending, we had somebody who couldn't attend the 9 a.m. Friday meetings for Highway. So Leah Taylor is going to serve on Highway, and Jennifer Locke will be serving on Facilities. But that's one change. I talked to Aaron. I think that he sent me a detailed what they wanted. I think we got everything covered. Is there any other issues or questions? All right.
Thank you. All right, moving on to new business. Adoption of resolution number 2022-303, revising award of contract for the Satellite Jail Consolidation Project. Based on the county board's MBE, WE participation percentage aspirations. Can I have a motion to approve? Ms. Furtado? Ms. Lockshin?
I'll second.
All right. Is there any discussion? Mr. Goss?
Yeah, I can't support this. I thought we'd already signed a contract after we approved it last meeting, but main reason I can't support it is I think it sends the wrong message for a lot of reasons. We got one contractor here that's going to supply equipment, pretty generic, but he's one half, or he or she, that person, that company is one half of the overage. In other words, they didn't sharpen their pencil. And I think it sends exactly the wrong message. I don't have a problem with the other ones. I mean, we got some that are $1,500, $1,600, $1,700. Not that big a deal. Understand that. But we've got one contractor that's only going to supply equipment, and they make up $67,000 of the $132,000. And it's a pretty generic thing. They're not getting special equipment. That stuff's all very well defined what they've got to provide. And so that's why I won't be supporting this. I know it's going to pass, but I think we send the exact wrong message for future projects. Thank you.
Anyone else? Sorry.
Thank you. I'm Jeff Wilson,
Go ahead,
County
Jeff.
Board District Number 1.
I'm
Thanks.
losing it. Yeah.
I'm the new person, so that's all right. My question is really, I'm trying to understand. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just trying to understand why there would be such a substantial increase on price for material and equipment, since generally that's the standard rate for material and equipment. Why is there such a significant bump up in price? Where's the justification for that, and how is it documented?
You know, I can't speak to specifics on the material selected. The criteria that I looked on this was that the board approved a PLA for Champaign County earlier in this year that included goals for minority business enterprise and women business enterprise participation. We signed off on that. That was part of this contract. The contractors signed off on it. These adjustments would bring us closer to the goal for MBEs and meet these goals for WBEs. And I'm not downplaying the additional cost, but this cost results in, it's less than 0.5% on the total job costs. Ms. Furtado.
Two things, and I will say, so these are subcontractors, right? So in some of the cases, these they receive multiple subcontractor, I don't know what the word for it is, submissions. And, so, right, so like for all of these, there were price ranges, for both the labor side and the contractor side, there were, it wasn't as if all of them were the same. I agree with Steve that the 0.5% is, I think it's reasonable. I think on a project of this size, you'll see more than that in change orders. I think that I do understand Mr. Goss's concern, but I do think that if we as a board are saying that MBE and WBE participation is a value that we express, I will also say this contractor, this is not something that is within our minority bid definition that we have as a county, but in addition, the contractor is also selected somebody who is 15% that is a contractor with a disability, and I think that that's important as well. I do have a suggestion, though, because I do think that, as finance chair, I want to make sure that we're trying to be as tight as possible, right? And I will say, we have changed the process a little bit. For the second one that we're hearing, we have actually asked them to submit their subcontractors with their bid, which was not something, that's not, just to be blunt, typically done on local projects. It's a requirement on highway projects. And so for the next one, that's baked in, it wouldn't be a separate thing. So this one, we asked for their subcontractors after. For the second, for the County Plaza, we asked for their subcontractors ahead of time. My suggestion is, if you look at page 104 in your packet for 2020, and I apologize, I just thought of this afternoon at like 5 o'clock. I always have ideas when I'm driving over here. For our ARPA money, we have $786,157 in unallocated ARPA money that is for county side projects, for overages, for unanticipated costs, for things of that nature. And a clear goal of the American Rescue Plan Act was to support minority and women-owned businesses. My suggestion is that we increase the amount of ARPA money going to the jail project by the $130,000 in this package, because I think that it is very much within the guidelines of ARPA. We have that money sitting there in basically a fund for projects like this, and it won't impact any of the other priorities, the water projects, the community violence projects, the public housing projects. Though that money is specifically for county projects. So that's my suggestion in how we pay for this. And I think maybe that will help allay some of the concerns about it. We wouldn't have to then add this to the money we go out for bond. I just thought of that. So that's my suggestion.
Any other comments?
And so I would like to, so I have a proposal. I would like to amend this resolution to say, comma, paid for by ARPA money.
Is there a second? Okay. Thank you. We have a second. Go ahead, Aaron.
We obviously need to make sure, I know it likely can, but we just need to make sure that it falls within the guidelines. I think it's probably pretty clear that it will, since it's the minority, but that would be the only real question I would have about it.
We can spend up to $10 million in whatever, within reason, we want, because of revenue replacement. All counties got $10 million. That is very, very flexible. We have not hit that mark. This won't put us to that mark. So yes, in addition to the fact that pieces of the project are clearly eligible for ARPA outside of that, and in addition to the fact that if you read through the ARPA guidelines multiple times, it says supporting minority and small businesses and women-owned businesses is like throughout the guidelines. So I think I think there's multiple ways we'll be okay.
That was my only potential issue.
I really don't want to put Kathy Larson on the spot, but do we want to bring her in? I understand your concern, Aaron, and I want to make sure that we're able to answer it. Kathy, could you come up and address that so that we have a fuller understanding?
Yes, if you're talking about, was it 130,000 as a total? That would be able to fit into the revenue replacement category. And we don't have to justify the use. But like you're saying, we could put it into a different category if it qualifies and then free up some more money under the 10 million. So yeah, we have flexibility for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaron, for bringing that point up. All right. Any other questions at this point? We have a second on the floor for an amendment to earmark this money to ARPA funds. So trying to figure my process, we need to have a vote on that. We have a vote. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of the amendment to this resolution? Go ahead, Kyle. Friendly amendment?
Yeah, who was the first and second?
Stephanie, and then, Eric. Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, thank you. Motion carries. All right, now formal adoption of this resolution. We have a motion and a second on that as well. We have it all. We have. We have a motion and a second. So, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Nay. Motion carries. Thank you. On to adoption of resolution 2022-304, approval to award contract for County Plaza renovation project pursuant to ITB number 2022-008. And that's also distributed in that yellow packet. Can I have a motion to approve? Or do we need a moment to look at it? I know it was distributed electronically earlier, but, all right. Ms. Taylor's made a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Ms. Vanish-Theranot? Okay. Ms. Furtado?
Just out of curiosity, do you know what the mistake was that Petrie Kuhn had?
Well, Dana Brenner had firsthand knowledge of that. So Dana, could you come up and talk about it? You can explain it better than I can.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Do you know what the issue was with Petrie Kuhn's bid?
With Petrie Cooney? Yes. They called it it's accounting error, basically. They were, again, several $1 million off in putting their bids together. You have to understand the process. There's a large number of subs that they're working with, late getting information in. They had two people here in the parking lot. Literally, we were writing stuff down, talking back to the company and writing up their bid document, and they made clerical errors. So they recognized it. Literally 2 minutes after we finished opening up, they walked out of the building, saw them come back, and we're going, oh boy, this is not looking good. So.
Second question, sorry, if I'm still being recognized. Do we have to decide at the alternates? Because you're right, they're recommending alternates 6, 7, and 8, and 9, and either 1 or 2, 3, and 4, not 10. Does the board have to determine that in this vote, or is this just a simple vote, yes or no?
Well, we're suggesting that we take alternates 1, which is reglazing the entire building, alternate 2, 3, 4, and 5, or reglazing each side of the building. We were not sure what the total price breakout would be, so we listed it that way just in case, not knowing what the numbers would be. And then we're suggesting taking 6, 7, 8, and 9, not 10.
Does anybody else have any additional questions since Mr. Brenner's at the mic? Hearing none. Thank you, Dana. Appreciate it. Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, adoption of resolution number 2022-267, authorizing amendment to the intergovernmental agreement providing for the creation of the Champaign County Geographic Information System Consortium. Can I have a motion? So moved, Ms. Taylor. Okay, Ms. Lockshin. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you. So happy to see St. Joe come aboard. My question really is, we're making an amendment to add St. Joe, which I'm so happy for that, but I guess my real question is, since we're revising this, why wouldn't we revise amendment or attachment A or alpha in the appendix? Why isn't that updated to reflect the changes? So it's more of a process question.
So remind me again specifically what portion of the agenda you're referring to, Jeff. Sorry.
So I'm looking for Appendix A on
Okay.
page number 36.
Okay.
And we're voting to revise this agreement, but Attachment A or Appendix A has not been revised accordingly to reflect what we're agreeing to. So I'm curious why that was not done, or how do we fix that?
Well, that is an omission, yes. I'm sorry, I had not noticed that. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. Well, perhaps we need to have a motion to table this in order to correct. I'm open to suggestions from the floor.
May I give a recommendation?
Please.
I'm so much in favor of having St. Joe included, but what I'd like to do is have the paperwork fixed. So Ken, is it possible to vote for agreement with the caveat that Appendix A get modified to reflect adding St. Joe and the 2020 census data?
Okay. I guess my concern would be if we're not actually voting on, well, we do have no, we don't have the number in terms of the additional cost for St. Joe listed on that, do we? It's not listed at all, so.
You have St. Joe on page 12, their additional cost.
Okay. All right. Jeff, would you like to make an amendment to modify this?
I've never done this before, but I'm going to make a motion for amendment to modify this resolution to agree with adding St. Joe and with the caveat of revising Appendix A to match the 2020 census and add St. Joe to Appendix A.
I'd say that was very well done. Is there a second to that amendment? Mr. Goss, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this amendment?
Mr. Summers, may I interject?
Please.
I believe Appendix A is the original appendix that was prepared when this agreement was initially passed. If you look at the fiscal years, they're 2003 and 2004. So none of these are updated.
Yeah, that was my recommendation, just to put updated to the 2020 census. Either add either replace the appendix or just update it.
Can
Mr. Patterson, go ahead.
I make a recommendation that we don't amend a contract without talking to GIS first? Because I just I don't think we completely know what this is. And, you know, with a little bit of context that Tammy was able to point out, I think that we should wait and talk to the people at GIS before we start amending things.
Oops, sorry. It does say if additional entities join the consortium, the per capita amount would be reduced by the added base amounts received. So yeah, this is definitely something we probably want to update before we finalize. Is there a deadline for this?
That I'm unsure of. Can't speak to that.
I don't actually, I would make the comment, I don't think that is controversial because, I mean, they all have to sign off on this. So they would theoretically be the people that would create the new appendix to reflect correctly based on the new census and everything like that. So, yeah, I think the appendix should reflect what's in the rest of the agreement. And I think saying we'll vote for it, we'll add in St. Joe, and we'll have them fix the appendix is fine. I mean, the GIS would obviously be part of that process.
And it has to be amended in writing by mutual agreement of all parties, but they can do that at any time.
Yeah.
And also, the new members may only be added to the consortium by a unanimous vote of the policy committee. So there's certain things we need to follow before we can add these guys in, it looks like.
Well, from what I'm hearing, I'm thinking perhaps it would be best to go back to Jeff's original revision. So I'm trying to recall, we had a motion and a second, we had discussion. I don't think we actually voted on that amendment. So all in favor of the revision to this amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, that passes. Now we are back to the original resolution. At this point, is there any further discussion before we vote? Seeing none. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for helping us out with this, folks. Appreciate it. All right, down to item D, adoption of resolution 2022-275 to establish place of election for the 2023 consolidated election. Do I have a motion? Okay. Chair Patterson, Leah Taylor. Any discussion? Jeff?
It's not my intention to say a whole bunch of stuff, but first of all, I appreciate that Aaron put this list together of 67 voting locations, which matches the 67 voting locations that we just experienced. And I understand the consolidated elections will have most likely less voters, but in my experience from this last election, that there were long lines on election day, particularly in the district where I live, which is district number 1 in Mahomet and in Fisher. And so my question is really twofold. One, would it be prudent for the clerk to understand what the demand is to meet the supply, or have the supply meet the demand? And then number 2, if there really is going to be less turnout and the clerk wants to save money in managing elections, should there just maybe, instead of having 6 voting locations on campus, make it 3 or 4 voting locations? So those are my questions, and I'd appreciate an answer.
Well, Clerk Ammons isn't here, but his chief deputy is here. Could you please, Angie, could you please respond to that?
Sure. Yeah, okay, so first question was, these are the same polling locations that were approved in 2022. The impetus behind this is that twofold. One is continuity for the voters, and 2, we don't have to send polling location change letter cards, which cost the county thousands of dollars. Second point being, with a consolidated election, if you go back and look at our historical data on our website, which is available, you'll see that in the 2021 turnout, unfortunately, was abysmal, and it was at like little over 13%. That's 16,000 voters. Unfortunately, voters get pretty fatigued after general elections. So that was the impetus behind that. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with this.
Am I allowed to follow up, or it's, everyone gets a
Certainly, go ahead.
discussion point? Okay. So yes, thank you so much. I understand that. So I agree we want to save money. So, and I don't really care about the paperwork it takes to save the money, frankly. But if there is going to be a lower voter turnout, then maybe it's better to have less polling locations. But on the other hand, I am concerned about a number of people that did not vote because the lines were too long. So that's really my question. And it may cost a couple more dollars to write paperwork, but maybe you would save in the long run by maybe getting rid of some of the voting locations if you really want to save money.
Any further questions? Ms. Lokshin?
I just, I think I'm not entirely clear on the paperwork versus like the cost of running a polling place. Are you suggesting you would like more polling places? Because it's, yeah.
I apologize. I'm just asking for a reasoned approach. I know there was significant demand for poll watchers, election judges, and on election day. And there were significant lines. And we all experienced that if we voted on election day. I vote early. I like to vote early. But anyway, if I don't want someone to be disenfranchised because there's a long line. I agree a person could reasonably vote by mail or vote early, but some people just, no matter what, love to vote on election day. And if a mother's there with 3 little children, or a father's there with 3 little children, and they have to go to work, they're not going to stand in line for 2 hours. An elderly person that may have trouble standing. I know some elderly individuals that have a difficult time standing in line for 2 hours. I'm just concerned about that. And then on the other hand, my other second response to you was, if the county wants to save money and say there's only a 10 or 15% turnout in certain areas of the county, wouldn't it be prudent then for those particular areas to just have less voting locations? I'm just asking for a reason. I'm supportive of elections. I want everyone to vote. I just don't want someone to not be denied the vote because they either have to wait too long or they can't. That's my question.
Angie, would you like to respond to that?
I do. I appreciate really what you're saying, and I want to be really careful because there is a huge difference between a general election, even if it's a midterm, and a consolidated. So I would bet a lot of money that we're not going to have lines of 2 hours like what we saw. And I think that there were some issues on election day that were covered pretty significantly by the media that exacerbated that. So I want to be careful about, because consolidateds are just much smaller elections. And one of the things that we're trying to do in the clerk's office is letting voters and data drive our decision making. So this isn't willy-nilly. We've consolidated polling locations based on the amount of expanded early voting and vote by mail. So we're really cautious about closing down polling locations, because it's confusing to the voter. So we're trying to have continuity. We're listening to the voters. And I can't remember what your last point was about. Did I answer your questions? It's really about voter continuity. Right now, Champaign County is really sort of in this middle period with the expansion of early voting and vote by mail. And the reality is this, it goes like this. Early voting is the second highest trend for voters, then vote by mail, and then election day, which is, it's a difference. And I'm sure the pandemic played a role in that. But our decisions aren't made based on how we're feeling that day. We're really letting data drive that. And I'm happy to share some more granular data for you and some of the responses we've gotten back from voters when polling locations they're expecting to be able to go to that polling location, whether it's on campus or in Mahomet. So we're really trying to provide that consistency.
Any further questions? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to adoption of resolution 2022-301, authorizing consolidated election judge numbers. We have a motion. Selection.
So moved.
Mr. Thorsland. Any questions? We still have Angie here. We have any questions on this? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. If there is no objection, I'd like an omnibus motion for items F, G, H, and I. First, adoption of resolution 2022-273, appointing Brian Schluter to the Harwood and Kerr Drainage District, term ending 8/31/2025. Adoption of resolution number 2022-277, appointing Richard Barnes to the Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District Board, term January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2027. Adoption of resolution number 2022-278, appointing Jane Sprandel to the Mental Health Board, term January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2026. Finally, adoption of resolution number 2022-279, appointing Elaine Palencia to the Mental Health Board, term January 1st, 2023 through 12/31/2026. Can I have a motion? A second, please. Okay, Mr. Storrs, second. All right. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
I apologize.
No, this.
I don't disagree with any of the selections. My question is really on process, Steve. And that's really related to, I'm sure all of us have filled out job applications somewhere at some time in our life, and I just recently filled one out myself. So my question really is on the question, they're not answering the question. So I would like whoever's in charge of this, make sure people answer the question. The question really is, what is your knowledge? You can choose any one of these pages. I'm looking at page 44. What is your knowledge of the appointed body's operations, property holdings, staff, taxes, and fees? That speaks to knowledge of the job the person is asking for. And thank God they're all volunteering or helping to do this, and it's wonderful for doing that. But if I was an employer, I would expect the person that's filling out the application to fill them out accurately or with the right information. It's a comment, that's all. Thanks.
I appreciate that. These appointments were handled by my predecessor, and I will happily in the future pay attention to the forms that's filled out. I believe that she did interviews as well. Some of those questions may have been answered in the interview portion. Process will be a little bit different for appointments from here out. The Policy and Appointments Chair will be given the opportunity to sit in on the interviews so that we will then have some board ability to ask questions of these appointees prior to coming to this point where you're making the approval. And I think that's a better process. So thank you, though. Yeah, Mr. Storr.
Mr. Wilson, I kind of fumbled on some of that. I had a little bit of knowledge about two of the people that were already being appointed and are being reappointed. And I didn't follow up and call the others. We can work together to do better on that.
Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. All right, I've lost my train of thought. We have a motion and a second on this. We've had questions. All in favor of approval of these appointments, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we move to item J, adoption of resolution 2022-280, authorizing payment of claims. Don't believe Mr. Danos is here to take questions. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Carter.
Thank you. Second? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lorraine. All right, I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
All right, I apologize again.
Go right ahead, Jeff.
These are the claims for the mobile homes, et cetera, and the properties, right? Or am I in the wrong spot?
You're in the wrong spot.
52.
No, you're page 2.
Thank you. I'll wait till we get to page 86. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, any further questions, comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. On to item K, adoption of resolution 2022-281, authorizing purchases not following purchasing policy. Can I have a motion to approve? Again, Lorraine, thank you. Second. Thank you. All right. Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, move on to item L, adoption of resolution 2022-282 for 2023 services from State's Attorney's Appellate Prosecutor. Can I have a motion? Okay, thank you. Second, Mr. Goss. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. The next three items are from the Sheriff's Office. Is there any objection to doing this in an omnibus fashion? Seeing none. All right. Adoption of Resolution 2022-283, approving budget amendment BUA 2022-11129, Fund 1080, General Corporate, Department 40, Sheriff's Office. Increased appropriations $41,243. Sorry. Increased revenue $41,243. Reason to receive insurance payment for a squad car that was totaled in a motor vehicle accident. Item N, adoption of resolution number 2022-284, approving budget amendment BUA 2022-11189, Fund 1080, General Corporate, Department 140, Correction Center, increased appropriation $22,435, increased revenue $22,435. Reason to receive additional grant funding. Finally, item O, adoption of resolution 2022-285, approving budget amendment and transfer BUA 2022-1250, Fund 1080, General Corporate, Department 1040, Correctional Center, increased appropriation $98,669, increased revenue $28,669, transfer amount $191,331,000. Reason budget transfer from personnel and amendment reflecting receipt of new revenue to help cover unforeseen operational expenses. And once again, I've lost my place. I do have a motion and a second on this.
So moved.
Okay, if so moved. Stan, second. Ms. Furtado, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Oh, sorry, Ms. Furtado.
I just wanted to point out, as far as I can tell, and Tammy might be able to tell me if I'm wrong about this, but to Mr. Esri's earlier point about the ones that should have the little stars and require whatever it is, 2/3 vote, would be M through P and R through U. I believe Q is not because it's a transfer. Is that accurate? Okay, so then that's easy. M through U. So just imagine there's little tiny stars, just so that we're clear when we're voting that it's the 2/3 on all of
we don't need a roll call unless it's unclear. We don't have to roll, let's not roll call on all of these. Unless it's unclear. Oh, it is. Rats.
Okay. I want Ms. Furtado to know that I have increased respect for her, having to read through these in the manner that I am, having no experience with it. So thank you for your work as finance chair. All right. Can we have a roll call for items M, N, and O, please? Will the clerk please read the roll?
Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Furtado.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Hanover Friedman.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Lockshin.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Storr. Straub.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thorsland.
Yes.
Benish Thiernot.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right. Next up, item P, adoption of resolution number 2022-286, approving budget transfer BUA 2022-11-515, Fund 1080, General Corporate, Department 36, Public Defender, amount $13,500. The reason: contracts have been signed for professional services with 2 private attorneys. A budget amendment is required to cover the November and December portion of those contracts. Can I have a motion, please? Okay, Ms. Locke? Thank you. All right, you have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, will the clerk please read the roll?
Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Furtado. Goss.
Yes.
Hanover Friedman.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Lockshin.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Storr.
Yes.
Straub.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thorsland.
Yes.
Benish Thiernot.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Next up is adoption of resolution 2022-287, approving budget amendment BUA 2022-12-98, Fund 2619, Tax Sale Automation, Department 26, County Treasurer, increased appropriations $200, increased revenue $0. Reason: additional appropriation is required to pay the benefits associated with the part-time staff.
So
can I-
move, Carter.
Sorry?
First.
Sorry. Carter made the motion. Do I have a second? Ms. Straub, made the second. Thank you. All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please read the roll?
Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Furtado.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Hanover Friedman.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Lockshin.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Storr. Straub.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thorsland.
Yes.
Benish Thiernot. Wilson.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Thank you. Any objections to an omnibus motion for items R and S? Separate them? Okay. Okay, adoption of resolution 2022-288, approving budget amendment BUA 2022-12-2020. Excuse me. Yes, 220, excuse me. Adoption, or a Fund 1080, General Corporate, Department 22, County Clerk, and 23, Recorder. Increased appropriations, $51,097. Increased revenue, $0. Reason: additional appropriation is required to cover payments to election judges and personnel shortages. Can I have a motion, please? Okay, Ms. Locke, Ms. Furtado. All right, discussion. Mr. Goss.
Yeah, I'd like to get some clarification, especially on the 33,000 for extra election judges. And we budgeted, did they change the timing? Why did we end up 33,000 over? Did we not budget for extra early voting?
Angie, would you please respond for that?
No, and with the general, not to the extent, because we're required to have, if we have the appropriate number of judges that we're willing to serve, we're supposed to have 5 in each location. And the reason for that isn't so much just the expanded early voting, but the vote by mail processing. Because what happened was the permanent vote by mail list came in, and we were anticipating, several thousand signing up, but we actually had a lot more sign up than we anticipated. So that's part of it. The other thing that I did not put in the memo, and I apologize, is that the State Board of Elections gives us a reimbursement grant for election judges. And I anticipate it being more than what this amendment is for. So hopefully that helps clarify.
When do you anticipate that coming in, though? Obviously not this fiscal year.
I do anticipate, because it'll get applied to fiscal year 2022, even if it comes in after. Normally, the State Board of Elections sends it to us immediately after the election. They've had some, I think, staff shuffling around and people leaving, so we haven't gotten that right away. I'll inquire about it actually tomorrow. But even if it does come in 23, it'll get applied to 22.
Mr. Goss, any further questions? Anyone else have any comments or questions? Seeing none, would the clerk please read the roll?
Cowart. Esri.
No.
Furtado.
Yes.
Goss.
No.
Hanover Friedman.
Yes.
Harper.
No.
Locke.
Yes.
Lockshin.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Storr.
Yes.
Straub.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thorsland.
Yes.
Penny Stierenot.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Adoption of Resolution 2022-302, approving Budget Amendment BUA 2022-11 or 12222, Fund 1080, General Corporate Department 23 Recorder, increased appropriations $142,310.50, increased revenue $207,537. Reason: increased real estate activity generating additional revenue requires additional appropriation to submit the state's portion of funding. Can I have a motion, please? Okay, Ms. Vanish-Thierenot, Mr. Goss, thank you. Is there any discussion?
Just
Ms.
a quick
Furtado.
celebration. I think this is the last time we're ever going to have to vote on this, because in the future, the way we budgeted, we will not have to vote on, correct? Yes. I don't know. I don't know, man, the real estate market in this town has just been crazy. So I feel like we've been voting on this every 2 months for the last 2 years, but this is it. We'll still get the revenue. I mean, we still want the revenue, but our meetings will be 1 minute shorter from now on.
Okay. No further questions. Would the clerk please read the roll?
Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Furtado.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Hanover Friedman.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Lockshin.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Storr.
Yes.
Straub.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thorsland.
Yes.
Penny Stierenot.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any objection to an omnibus motion for items T and U? Thank you. All right. Adoption of Resolution 2022-289, approving budget amendment BUA 2022-12209, Fund 3105, Capital Asset Replacement Fund, Department 59, Facilities Planning. Increased appropriations $269,157.73. Increased revenue $20,273,240.60. Reason appropriation for bonds, bond proceeds and costs. And adoption of resolution number 2022-290, approving budget amendment BUA 2022-12-215, Fund 3105, Capital Asset Replacement Fund, Department 59, Facilities Planning, increased appropriation $164,049.64, increased revenue $17,482,590.65. Reason appropriation for bond proceeds and costs. Is there any discussion? Oh, sorry. Do I have a motion, please? Mr. Goss.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. Any discussion at this point? Hearing none, can we please read the roll?
Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Furtado.
Yes.
Goss.
Yes.
Hanover Friedman.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Lockshin.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Storr.
Yes.
Straub.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thorsland.
Yes.
Bennett Stewart.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. Mr. Wilson, is there any objection to an omnibus motion for V, X, Y, Z, AA, and BB?
Yes.
All
Always
right.
have a discussion.
Okay, we'll do these individually then.
Well, I actually would, do you don't mind if I just say it all as a package rather than just each individual one? I'm just going to point to an example.
Well,
I'm gonna
in
point-
terms of process,
Okay.
I've got to either do them as a group or I can do them individually. So that's,
Group or individual?
I would just do it as a group and then motion. Yeah, go, let him do it.
Your issues, I think, can be done.
it's
My
fine
issue
either
can
way.
be done
It's-
as a group,
it's
so I
your
just
dis- it's
assume
your
do it as a
discretion.
group.
Anyone can call it out as you know,
Yeah.
not being an omnibus motion. So that's entirely up to you, and I'm fine with it. So,
My preference is to do it as a group.
all right, we will then do it as an omnibus motion. All right, adoption of resolution 2022-291, authorizing the county executive to assign a mobile home tax sale certificate of purchase, permanent parcel number 15250464. Adoption of resolution 2022-292, authorizing the county executive to assign a mobile home tax sale certificate of purchase, permanent parcel 20-32-97. Adoption of resolution 2022-293, authorizing the county executive to assign a mobile home tax sale certificate of purchase, permanent parcel 29-050-0060. Adoption of resolution number 2022-294, authorizing the county executive to assign a mobile home tax sale certificate of purchase, permanent parcel 20-50-74. Adoption of resolution number 2022-295, authorizing the county executive to assign a mobile home tax sale certificate of purchase, permanent parcel number 20-5467. Adoption of resolution number 2022-296, authorizing the county executive to assign a mobile home tax sale certificate of purchase, permanent parcel number 2913. And last but not least, adoption of resolution number 2022-297, authorizing the county executive to assign a mobile home tax sale certificate of purchase, permanent parcel number 2900-23. Can I have a motion, please? Mr. Esri?
So moved.
And this drop. Thank you. Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. My discussion is on accountability or accounting. I have no problem with the tax sale, although I'm sorry that the individuals lost their property because of not paying taxes. But my question really, and I'll just point out as an example, there's money either left on the table or not enough money brought to the table. So I'm going to look at page 91. So we could turn to page 91. And this is with property 704 West Frederick Street. The Village of Thomasboro brought $750 to the table. The county gets $300. Illinois Secretary of State gets $150. Tax agent gets $450. When I add those three numbers up, I get $900. And it looks like there's $150 missing. Is that typically what happens, or is this all right, or should we figure out what to do with the other $150? And by the way, that's typical for most of these pages. There's either some money on the table or not enough brought to the table.
Honestly, Jeff, I don't have an answer for that at this time. I can certainly inquire and get additional information, but at this time I do not.
I guess the question, who comes up with the extra $150? Is the people that bought the property, or is it just come out of general funds, or is there a transfer? How does that work?
Aaron?
Yeah, when we discussed this in caucus, it seems like I remember maybe us changing that 450 for the tax. What do they call it? The tax agent, and like that's the minimum that the tax agent was going to do these sales for. I don't remember. It doesn't seem like it was all that long ago that we changed. I don't remember what it was previous, but it seems like it got changed to that 450 and it went up. And I assume, like I say, that's just the minimum the tax agent was going to do it for. So ultimately, I mean, the reason just bring it up because I don't truly know the answer, but it would appear to me that it's basically the tax sale didn't bring enough to truly cover all the expenses, and the county, I guess, has to kind of eat that 150. But again, the reason I had Jeff bring it up here because I truly didn't know the answer, at least, unless I am right, but I wasn't 100% sure.
I think it's a collector question.
Can I ask a question? Is there any timing issue if we table these to the next month? This is a legit question.
I honestly don't know the answer. I have a little bit of concern about it because we're at the end of the year, but I don't know if that's relevant.
Yeah.
Did you reach any conclusions?
No, I mean, the issue to me ends up being then ultimately you're going to need a budget amendment if you're short, right? Because I'm sure we don't budget for shortage in a tax sale.
This is on the collector side,
Right. So
not
Yeah.
not on the treasury side. So this is on, collections. It-
We just leave these on. So you're saying that the 450 is separate from the 750 that we're taking in, and that's the tax agent's purview to collect independently of the money we're taking in?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is managed on the collector side. And ultimately, there is a transfer of funds for the county to our side. But I'm going to be honest, I think we've been doing it like this for a really long time. So I don't know that it hurts to do it like this and then make sure that those bases are covered moving forward? The question's answered?
Well, I appreciate Tammy's concern about it coming up to the end of the year as well as maybe being problematic if we do not vote on this. So
It does say that it's valid for 60 days from this date, and then after that, it's null and void, so we do have at least 60 days from whatever date.
Aaron,
I think that 60 days is because ultimately the delinquent taxpayer entity, however you want to say it, has up to 60 days to pay their back taxes. So that's just the way it works. I mean, that's statute, law, whatever you want to call it, and that I can buy said property. I bought it, but yet I didn't truly buy it until after those 60 days are up. It's kind of another, I guess you could call it a grace period or something, to be like to that delinquent taxpayer, hey, it is sold unless you get that money in here within 60 days. It's kind of, I guess, a final, this is it.
go ahead, Eric.
Just taking a quick look, and I could be completely wrong because basic math is not my purview. It looks like if we have a purchase price that's anything more substantial than the 900 or the 750 that we see, that tax agent gets just a little bit more money. You notice that it's $595, and all these other ones, this base is $450, which I vaguely recollect that we decided was. So if we don't make some sort of threshold, we do in fact lose money somewhere, or the collector does or something. That this seems to be some sort of sliding scale. And honestly, we've done so many of these, I don't think, thank you, Jeff, for looking at them, that I don't think we ever noticed this before. But does it wash in the end, the ones that are a higher?
So actually, for these 10 pages or whatever, it doesn't wash. So this page and the next page, it's 150 each, that's $300. The ones that were money was too much money was actually only $5. So in the balance, I don't know who's shorted. The county is shorted. But it's probably just a little peculiar with me. I just love accuracy, and I don't know how we could approve something that's inaccurate, but I'm not sure I fully understand the process.
So I'm not entirely convinced this is inaccurate, because it seems as like, so example, to your point, on page 88, 89, and 91, all three of them, we sold the home for $750 on the tax sale. On two, we received $145. On one, we received $300. The fees to the other folks seem to be the same. There seems like there would be some reason for that, right? That seems like there'd be a very strange clerical error to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems as if there must be a reason for that. I just have no clue what it is.
Mr. Goss.
Yeah, I actually think this is just, I don't think there's a clerical error. I do find this peculiar, that I kind of am a little bit embarrassed that I've never paid that much attention to this number either, but I think we just lose money on it. Because the reality is you're selling the taxes, and if somebody doesn't perceive, this is why we had the discussion of the person saying their minimum was $450, was because some of these, especially these mobile home taxes, are not much. So we're losing money on all of those that we do just because the fee's $450.
Mr. Esri.
Again, this is what I'm thinking. I may be totally wrong here, but I believe also to a degree on some of these sales, at least I know these types of sales, let's just say the delinquent tax is $100, but it brings $150. Ultimately, the person who could maybe get some of that money, I'm not entirely sure, but I think there's like some types of sales somewhat like this, at least of property, like maybe like say this desk. I'm just throwing it out there. I owe $10 on it, but it sells for $20. The county can only maybe take the $10 that it's owed, and ultimately I get paid the $10 to me. So I don't know if that falls into anything like what you're bringing up, Stephanie. I don't know, but I wonder.
Well, the question at hand, I see two. We have a question in terms of process here, but we're also looking at whether or not we're going to pass these, and I do still appreciate Tammy's concern about coming up to the end of the year. I only vote on this, folks, if you guys tie. So I'm open to listening to comments from the board about the direction that you'd like to go on it. So please tell me which path you would like me to take. Go ahead, Ms. Taylor.
For myself, I'm happy to vote on this tonight. I'm going to vote yes for it. It's exactly how we've always done it. We do need to get some clarity on this moving forward, but it is the end of the year, and this affects more people than just us tonight.
Open to further thoughts, guys. That kind of parallels my line of thinking, though. Ms. Furtado.
The specificity and the irregularity of the differences in these lead me to believe that there must be some reason for them. Perhaps what Mr. Esri said, like my brain was going there too. I think it's a good catch. Like Jim said, I've never noticed this in my life. So your finance chair and your finance vice chair, we're on our game. But I do think it's a good catch. I do think we need clarification. But I would say that I agree with Ms. Taylor that like I think I would be comfortable with voting for this in that this will be like the 100th of these we voted on for this year. But I do think we need some clarification on the process of this because this is a question that's literally just never been asked before.
I would say that perhaps Kyle Patterson should have looked at a different vice chair for finance, maybe. I don't know. This is pretty good.
Anybody that wants it, it's available.
Okay. We have go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback with Leah and Tammy's concern, I think we should vote on this tonight to be consistent with all the other times we voted on it. And then I would task the executive, the new freshly minted executive, to find out who knows about this and have them come to the next meeting and explain to us exactly what this all means.
I want you to know I actually do have in the margin collector question already noted there.
Yeah,
So,
I think the entire board would apparently benefit from someone who could explain to us the math of the mobile home tax sale.
Ms. Carter, go ahead and put your mic on. Thank you.
I kind of vaguely discussing this over COVID, when we had COVID, when we were doing the Zooms. And I remember you speaking upon that number. It's just, I can't remember exactly what it was related to, but I do remember discussing this. Thank you.
All right. Well, if it's agreeable, okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Lee, I appreciate your comment. I'm going to vote no, but that's okay. But and I'm telling you why I'm voting no, because I don't think it's accurate or correct, but that's because I'm ignorant. But the other comment I have is just because I did something in the past and I've done it repeatedly doesn't mean it's the right thing to do in the future.
I certainly understand that, Jeff, and believe me, ignorant is not a term that I would be affixing to you after this meeting. However, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you for this exercise. All right, moving on. Yeah, we'll just do them in regular fashion. We're looking at adoption of resolution number 2022-298, authorizing the execution of a deed of conveyance of the county's interest or cancellation of the appropriate certificate of purchase on real estate permanent parcel 200335-352-012. Can I have a motion? Okay, Ms. Straub. Mr. Esri, thank you. Discussion. Ms. Furtado.
Any chance you want to omnibus the next one?
Well,
I'll allow it, Steve.
hearing your interest, then I will then move on. We'll add item DD, adoption of resolution 2022-299, authorizing the execution of a deed of conveyance of the county's interest or cancellation of the appropriate certificate of purchase on real estate permanent parcel 200902 130-14. Can I have a motion for those two? Mr. Esri, I see you raising your hand. Second? Okay, Ms. Straub, all right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Wilson?
I would prefer not to separate these. I will vote no for 298 and yes for 299 because 299 is accurate and correct, but 298, the numbers aren't adding up.
Well, in that case, I can't do that as the omnibus motion. So I had started out with item CC. I believe I've already read that. Not going to read it again. Can I have a motion to approve agenda item CC? Mr. Esri and Ms. Straub, again, thank you. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye or nay.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right, item DD, adoption of resolution 2022-299, authorizing the execution of a deed of conveyance of the county's interest or cancellation of the appropriate certificate of purchase on real estate, permanent parcel 200902 130-14. Can I have a motion? Motion from our chair, second from Leah Taylor. It's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Can I get a motion for adoption of ordinance number 2022-19, revising civil fees to be charged by the clerk of the circuit court? I have a motion from Ms. Taylor, second from Ms. Hennar. Okay. Any discussion? And our clerk is here for questions. Apparently, they don't have any questions for you. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we're up to other business. Before we get into the body of other business at this point, there is a piece of paper at your desk with regard to a revision to our tax levy from Tammy. Apparently the city of Urbana has closed a TIF district, and we did not have notification of it prior to our setting our levy. So we are going to need to have because this wasn't noticed in this meeting, we're going to need to have a special meeting in order to capture these funds, which I would say is important for us to be able to do. So if we could, hang around a little bit after the meeting and let's try and figure out a timeline, because I think we only have until the 22nd to accomplish this. So just keep that in the back of your heads, and before everybody leaves, let's try and work on some mutually agreed upon time that we can convene to capture these revenues.
Can we just do that now?
Sorry, Kyle, what?
Can we just do that now?
Okay, fine. No, yes, it will have to be in person, and it'll have to be a regularly held meeting that we provide notice for.
Is it 72 hours? 48. 48.
Can't
Do it Monday.
Okay, go ahead, Stephanie.
We just have to have a simple majority here, correct? So we would need 12 of us. Maybe we could just raise your hand if you could come Monday night. Yeah, it won't be long.
Counting 10. Okay, there we go. That pushes us over. All right, Monday, do we want to have it at the same regular meeting time of 6:30? Yes, please. Okay, all right. Thank you. That was much less painful than I thought it would be. Thank you.
But the caveat is, right, that it has to be noticed tomorrow, right?
Yes, yes. Believe me, Tammy will be on that. All right, thank you very much. Now, next up is our ARPA update from Kathy Larson, who has been very patiently sitting out there. Thank you for waiting for us, Kathy.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. So we included the monthly update of the projects. In the memo, we've added some additional items to the finished status, and so some of the outcomes are listed there. And then we also have the section of contracts that are currently underway. They're all in various different stages and different points in those processes that each project has. We've included some of the reporting information as of, currently, and some of the categories where they've reported some numbers to us. And then a couple of the new contracts we're working on for the broadband expansion. We're working with Volo and Nextlink to draft contracts for those projects, and we still need more information before we can finish drafting those. And then tonight, we also have the Seymour Water District, which I talked about last month for helping their water meter replacement. And then for the EDC Low Hurdle Grant Program, we're still waiting on some other funding from the state for EDC to be able to leverage that program. We've also included the revenue and expense projection updates and the timeline, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Furtado.
I know I keep saying, like, I really genuinely think we as a county need to do more explaining what we do to people and celebrating what we do. And so I think ARPA is one, but there's other opportunities for us to do that. And so one of my suggestions is that we had those really two great public comments today. One of the things we might want to do, especially as a project is closing out, is, and we're asking them for like their final report, to have like a comment section where they could talk about the impact for the community, so that like, I have this fantasy that at the end, we're gonna have like a report, like, we were given this $40 million, here's what we did, here's how we held that trust, this is what we did with it. And so I think that might be a cool way to and it could be optional, they don't have to answer the question, you know what I'm saying? But if they want to say why this mattered to Penfield or to whatever, giving them a chance to do so that we could capture it. And then when we say to the public, this is what we did with the money, have that opportunity to share some of that, I think would be beneficial. I mean, I've talked at length with Brad at the Farm Bureau about the impact of the money. I'm sure he'd write up something for the cover crop project. You know what I mean? I think a lot of folks would. We just have to ask them. So that's. I feel like I'm always like, here's another thing I think we should do. That, and I know I keep saying this. I think we need to create like a photo dump for all of this, right? So Chris just had his helicopter up there with that thing, right? Some of these projects, like I don't know that. Maybe I'll go to Penfield and see it. But if one of you are out there and you take a picture, you know what I'm saying? Like a way that we can, like from the board members, like crowdsource photos so that Kathy doesn't have to drive around the countryside getting images. Because the number one question I get as a county board is like, what does that board do? Right? And I think this is a chance for us to brag. I mean, like on these water projects, y'all brought in money into your districts. We should be able to say like, go to the county website and see what we're doing for the districts, right? So this is a fantasy I've had for a long time, and I just wanted to bring that up.
We do on the reporting form have a section about the community impact. It may not fully represent what we want to report in the end, but it has a little bit. And then we do ask for pictures in their reporting process. We may not be getting all of them, but not many are done yet either. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you for putting this together. Thank you very much. A simple question is more related to spending in the out years in 2024. And my guess question is, what is inflation now? 8%, 7%, 7.123? So are these adjusted for escalation for inflation, especially for the purchase of equipment for IT laptop replacement for $120,000 earmarked for 2024? If they can't get all the equipment they want, they just spend up to 120 and that's it, period? Or how does that work?
For county department projects, I wouldn't have that answer if they each tried to calculate inflation into their requests. But you
I'm assuming they didn't.
So, yeah.
I've done massive projects with escalation. I just was curious, that's
Yeah.
all.
Just spend what you.
So my question is, if the limit is 120, it's just 120, right?
Yeah.
If you can only get 9 laptops instead of 10 or 100 instead of 120, that's just what it is. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in some cases, they've increased the project. For example, the Penfield Water District, that was increased because of huge cost increases. So there's been a couple cases where that might be modified, but otherwise, we don't know if they projected it into their cost estimates.
Ms. Furtado.
To your point, though, Mr. Wilson, if you look on page 104, that money that we used earlier for the MBE, WBE from the PLAs, we do have $786,000 that's unassigned. And one of the goals of that, and we pushed pretty hard to ensure that that stayed with the county, is if there are project overages, these different departments could come to us and be like, and we've already had this happen a few times on some of the projects from 2022, not just because of inflation, just also like, oh, I didn't think about, for example, we did a digitization project and we hadn't originally, I think, included the treasurer in it, but then later on we were like, we should, why don't we digitize, like if we're digitizing, let's just digitize. So we upped that amount, right? And so that one of the goals of that 786,000 is, one, there might be things we didn't think about yet for 2024. Two, to your point, things might be more expensive. The goal is to spend all of that money. And so those numbers projected for 2024, as we go through the budget process, might bump up, might bump down. You know, it's possible maybe somebody will get a grant and cover that, so we don't have to do that project, right? I definitely think we should think about the projected as projected, right? And that's the same for the public-facing projects, right? If Penfield is a great example. They came back and said, look, if we could get a little bit more money, we could do X, Y, Z, so we adjusted it, right? And so I do want us to think of this as an amazingly detailed living document. But to your point, I do think we should all be aware that things are going to be more expensive in 2023 and 2024. That is for sure the case.
Mr. Harper.
Speaking of the money, met with Brad Yukon here, it's probably been a month ago, and they met their goal on the cover crop acres. At that time, they had not received their money. Have they gotten it yet? We talked about it at a facilities meeting.
Do you know the answer to that?
I don't think they've submitted a request for the money. I do have a meeting with Brad on Monday scheduled.
Yeah, he indicated that the request was in. I know Mr. Storr asked me to check on it with the cover crop deal. Brad said they met their goal on acres, but they had not received any money.
I'd have to look back. This statement reflects October 31st, so it might have been processed in November. There's so many payments we process.
I
yeah.
remember when you brought this up, I get back to Brad. So.
Yeah, if he submitted it to me, then we would have at least processed the payment that was allowed, and maybe it would show up as of November 30th. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Further questions? Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate it. All right. Can we get a motion for the adoption of resolution number 2022-300, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement for assistance with water infrastructure project? Eric? Okay, and our board chair seconds. Is there any discussion on this? Go ahead, Aaron.
Just say thanks again to the full board for finding, the extra money you could save for a rural board district to fund this project.
Anyone else? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item C is notification of the sale of bonds. Tammy is here. Do people have questions that they want her addressed with regard to this? What's the intention of the board? Stephanie?
It's not just a question. It's not a question. I know I'm always like, thank you, but to get us to this point with these bonds was an incredible amount of work. An incredible amount of work. Just talking to Tammy about it, sometimes my eyes would cross. Like, it was a lot of work, a lot of attention to detail, and just thank you for getting us to this point. Doing this on top of the regular job was a big ask, and I want you to know that I deeply appreciate it.
All right, is there any other business? Go ahead, Mr. Harper.
I thought this was the last meeting of the year, but only thing I got to say is Merry Christmas, everybody.
Well, there will be another opportunity on Monday, Stan. All right, seeing that we have no further business, okay, Jeff?
The liaison appointments, when does that occur?
I've gotten that information from both Kyle and from your caucus chair, and I will work on that this week. Surprisingly enough, I've had a fairly heavy schedule, and I just haven't gotten to that yet. But that's my project. It's on my list to do next week. All right. Thank you, Jim. We are adjourned. Thank you.